Hi, welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to start writing HTML markup for About section. Let us get started. Okay, I have already opened the brackets code editor and this is the index.html file of Solo website. I'll start by writing comment for About section and the comment is just about. I'll close my head section and I'm going to open this index.html file in live preview mode. This is the live preview of Solo website. I'm creating space inside my code editor. Okay, we are ready to start coding About section. I'm going to put new section element and the ID for this section element is About. Now let us go inside this About section. For About section, we will be dealing with two parts. As you know, we have two parts of About section. This is part 1 and this is part 2 of About section. So therefore, we need to create two parts inside this About section. In this particular lecture, I'm just focused on part 1 and I will only write HTML markup for part 1. So I'm going to create a new section using div element and its ID is about-01. And it would be better to add comment for this part 1 too. And the comment is about part 1. Okay, let us start writing HTML markup for only part 1 of About section. I'm going to start by creating a content box. I'm going to use div for creating content box and I'm going to assign a class to this div and the class value is content-box-lg. lg means large. It is going to act as a large box. This will be custom CSS class which we will create inside style.css in next lecture. We will be mostly using content boxes for our sections. The reason I am creating such content box because we are going to organize our content in such a manner that makes good sense. I mean, I want all of my section to be well organized with regard of white spaces around them. Let us have a look at Solo demo version. If you notice, I have some white space at the top and bottom for each section. As you can see, there is some white space at the top and at the bottom for this section. And I have maintained such white spacing through content boxes. And we will be creating different sizes boxes for Solo website to maintain a proper layout across the whole website. So therefore, we create such content box once and we use them again to avoid any irregularity in layout. Okay, for About section, I need large box and we will put all the content for About part 1 in this large box. If you have noticed, and I hope you did, I have used class attribute instead of ID attribute. The reason is because we will be using this large box on multiple places later for other sections. So therefore, it should not be unique like ID. So that's why I have used class instead of ID. In case of ID, we cannot have same ID on multiple places. But in case of class, we can have a class on multiple places. So we will be using this large box class on multiple places in this project. Okay, now let us go inside this large box. And now we will start creating Bootstrap grid layout. Before I create Bootstrap grid layout inside this large box, first we need to look at wireframe for About section. For part 1 of About section, we have to create two rows. In first row, we have to accommodate the heading on left side and company story text on right side. And in second row, we have to put this large company image. We can easily create such layout using Bootstrap grid system. We have already included the Bootstrap framework to this Solo website and you have also learned about Bootstrap framework, right? And now the time has come to use it properly for solo website. Let us start using Bootstrap grid system. If you remember from Bootstrap section, we need to create three things: the container, row and column. Inside this large box, we will first create a div with Bootstrap container class. I am going to put div element and I am going to assign a class, and the class is from Bootstrap, which is container. Second, inside this container div, we have to create two rows. But right now I'll just focus on this first row where we have to place the heading and company text. I'm going to create a div with row class. For this row we have left side and right side, so we need to divide this row into two equal columns. I'm going to write comment for left side, and the comment is about left side. Now I'm going to put a div to create first column, and we need to add Bootstrap column class, which is call -md. We have grid classes for large, medium, small and extra small devices. The option we decided to use in this course is medium devices grid class, which is MD, and after that we need to define the number of columns, and the number of columns is 6, and left side content goes inside this column. I am going to duplicate this div one more time for right side. This second div will be for right side, and the right side content will go inside this second div. So we have a container div. Inside this container div we have created a row, and we have divided this row into two equal columns. Now let us see what we have got inside web browser. Now we have a row, and inside a row we have two equal columns. This is first column and this is second column. The first column is for left side content and the second column is for right side content. These two columns are actually based on Bootstrap 6 columns. 6 plus 6 equal to 12 Bootstrap columns. So this is how we use Bootstrap grid system to create different layouts. If you have any confusion about Bootstrap grid classes, you can go back and you can rewatch my lectures which are particularly about Bootstrap grid system. Now let us add actual content to these columns. I am going to create content for left side. For left side, we have to design a heading like this. This is going to be generic style heading for other sections too. As you can see, we have same style heading for team section. Basically, we will create two styles of heading: the vertical heading and horizontal heading. As you can see that we have horizontal heading for services section. For about section, we need to write some generic HTML markup to create vertical heading. Let us do it. So what I am going to do, I am going to create a wrapper div, and its ID is about-left. This is going to be a wrapper for left side, and inside this about left div we are going to write HTML markup for vertical heading. I'm going to put a div and I'm going to assign a class to this div, and the class is vertical heading. And inside this vertical div I'm going to put headings. For this vertical heading I am going to use H5, and the text for this H5 heading is who we are. And for this normal heading I am going to use H2 element, and the text for normal heading is a story about us. I want to make this story word to be strong, and for that I'm going to use HTML strong tag, and I want to put a break after this story word, like this way. I'm just removing the extra spaces. So this is going to be left side of first row. Okay, now let us see what we got inside the web browser. Perfect. Now we have headings for left side. This is vertical heading and this is normal heading. We will apply style to these headings in next lecture and we will make this who we are heading vertical. Now let us work on right side content, this one. I'm just removing the extra spaces. Okay, this is left side and this is going to be right side. On right side, we just need to put some text, which will be story of company. I'm going to create a wrapper for right side as we did for left side. The ID for this wrapper is about-right. And inside this wrapper, we are going to put some text and we will add p element for text. I'm going to add first paragraph. Now I'm going to add some dummy text by using emit extension. I just need to write lorem and I'll press tab and it just added dummy text for me. Let me increase this dummy text. Below this paragraph, I have to put another paragraph. I'm going to add p element and I will do the same for dummy text. I'm going to write lorem and I'll press tab and it just added second paragraph for me. Now we have two paragraphs on right side of about section. Great. Things are getting shape, right? Okay, we are done with first row. Now let us create this second row, this one, where we have to just put an image. I'm going to create a second row. I'm going to write comment for second row and the comment is about bottom. This is going to be bottom of about section. Now I am going to create a second row inside the main container, this one. Inside this main container, we already have a row and now I am going to create a second row. I am going to put a div with class row. Inside this row, I just need to create a single column, and if you recall from my Bootstrap grid lecture, you will know how to create a single column. It is very simple. Let me show you again. I'm going to put a div and I'm going to assign Bootstrap column class, which is call-md, and to create a single column we use 12 number. I means we are going to occupy all 12 columns of Bootstrap, and by this way we get a single column where we will put our image. Let us see what we got inside web browser. Now you can see we have a row and a single column inside it where we will place our image, and this single column is equal to 12 Bootstrap columns. Let us add actual image inside this column. For about image, I am going to browse images folder, and inside the images folder we have about folder, and inside this about folder we have this about.png file, and this is the image we are going to use for about section. I also have the PST version which you can open in Photoshop and you can edit for yourself. Okay, let us use this image for about section. First, I'm going to create a wrapper for about bottom. This is going to be a wrapper for about image. And the ID for this div is about bottom. And inside this about bottom div, I'm going to define HTML image tag. The image tag defines an image in an HTML page. The image tag has two required attributes. The first one is going to be source attribute, and I'm going to specify the path for about bottom image, which is img/about, and then we are going to choose about.png file. And the second attribute is going to be alt, which is used for alternative text, and the alternative text is about us. Perfect. We got an image at the bottom of about section. One important thing I want to add to this image tag is a class from Bootstrap. I'm going to add class attribute, and the value for this class attribute is img-responsive. This is Bootstrap class. You can check out Bootstrap documentation for this class. On this CSS page, you can find responsive images, and you can read about responsive images classes. As you can see, we just used this img-responsive class for about section. This img-responsive class makes an image responsive for you. Okay, I am done with writing HTML markup for part 1 of about section. I'll go ahead, I'll save my index.html file. So this was all about writing HTML markup for part 1 of about section. Okay, I'm done with this lecture. In next lecture, we will start styling about section. I'll see you in next class. Thanks.